Welcome back to Sevine International. This is Linda Forsythe.
And I'm Leonard Bacani.
And we have an explosive show tonight, I'll tell you. We also have a very, very special guest in order to share that with. We have Red Pill 78 joining us. And this show tonight is going to be all about the silencing of popular conservative patriots. This sedition, something that we really need to discuss. Now, before I go ahead and introduce Red Pill, we have lots of questions for him. I wanted to let everybody know, if they look down below there and they see the subscribe button, it would help us if you would go ahead and subscribe to this channel. We also have, since we are a foundation where it's a charitable trust, we totally survive on the donations of our members, of our viewers. So on our website, on c-fine.com, that's c-fine.com, we do have a donation page. You can see at the top in the taskbar that this is there. You just click on that, and any amount would be deeply appreciated. We also have formed a White Hat Brigade, and that is something that if you would like to become part of, it's $99 for the year. We'll send you a Sevine white hat. You have your choice between a baseball cap and one of the visors. And there's other gifts that we send with you also. You're not buying anything. These are gifts that we are sending you. And we just ask for a $99 donation. Okay, so as we go back in here, there are so many things that we would like to talk about. And part of this has to do with Red Pill's opinion. And so, Red Pill, thank you. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Red Pill.
Hello, Linda and Leonard. Thank you so much for having me. Very grateful to be here.
Well, we love being on your show, and this is why Leonard and I were really excited about bringing you out here. And so I am going to go ahead and minimize our pictures.
Wait a minute. While you're doing that, Red Pill, I know that for the vast majority of our members, I know that they know who you are and they think you're great. They follow you. But for those who don't, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started?
Yeah, of course. Well, let's see. I only started making videos back in December, but I've been politics and news research, it's been a lifelong passion of mine. So for many years, I was just kind of doing research on my own. And I would take the opportunity to share it with people when it was appropriate, but more often than not, due to the disturbing nature of a lot of the things that we've come to learn, it really wasn't very appropriate to share with many people. I had tried in the past in relationships. It did not work out well. I tried at my places of employment. Also did not work out well. With the majority of my family for a long time, it didn't work out well. And it was only once Donald Trump was elected that I was able to start getting through to some important people in my life, namely my mother. That's a real badge on my jacket because I was able to show her the true nature of President Trump and the things that he was trying to do. But I guess I started on this journey when I was about 10 years old. My mother was reading a book called On the Trail of the Assassins, and it was about the assassination of JFK. And I knew who JFK was. I knew that he had been shot in Dallas, but I didn't know anything about the circumstances surrounding that. So my mom and I would frequently read books together when I was younger, and fiction and nonfiction both. And so I picked up this book, and it was about 500 pages. It was really big, and she had just gotten it from the library, and it was a hardcover, and had an interesting dust jacket. And I start flipping through it, and I find all of this, this evidence, these schematics of the magic bullet, autopsy photos. It was a little disturbing at first when I saw it, but then I realized what it was that I was looking at. and I started, kind of just putting the pieces together myself, and I saw the magic bullet theory, and I said, okay, well, I don't know physics as a 10-year-old boy. I don't know much about geometry at that point either, but I certainly knew that it was impossible what the official narrative was trying to put forward. And so I asked my mom about it, and she told me, that President Kennedy had been assassinated and that it was supposed to be this one guy, but he was a patsy, and he had connections with, potentially intelligence agencies. And now we've come to know that definitively he did. And then that there were all of these other people that were involved in the assassination. And I realized that, this American president, possibly the greatest president until our current administration right now, he had been murdered by people within his own government, people that were on his side, supposed to be in his party, people that were supposed to be fighting for the best interests of all Americans. And instead, they were only interested in their own selfish interests. And, I think that taught me a lot very early on about the way the world works, about the way that politics work. And I think I was pretty naive. I had, I guess I had like normal traumatic stuff happen to me when I was a kid, but by and large, I kind of saw the world through my own lens, and I've got a very particular set of morals and a framework for the way that I live my life. And it, the way that a lot of people act is really, it's difficult for me to grasp and to understand. Now with as old as I am, it's become much easier, but especially back then, to think that was possible. If that was possible, how much more evil could there be out in the world? What else could I face as I set out on my own? And so, knowing that, I kind of just started looking at everything as an opportunity to lift the veil, if you will, check behind the curtain and see what was really going on. And, I grew up, I went to college, I had my own child, and and then 9/11 happened, and then for many years, I kind of just had to be completely wrapped up in the day-to-day of being a father. I was a single father. And then, once my daughter got to a certain age and I was able to have a little bit more free time again, I really started doing my own deep dives. I was an avid reader prior to that, so I was always getting books and I was always looking for interesting things to read. But, the internet's here now, and it really, you have quite literally a limitless information at your fingertips. Anytime that you want, you can just look it up, and things were, a bit different back then, 10 or 12 years ago. The suppression of information had not been perfected yet. And so there was many different places you could go, YouTube being one of those places. That would be the place that I would go to find documentaries and in-depth studies on things that I couldn't find out about otherwise, that I wouldn't be able to find in other places.
Right.
And I've been a fan of YouTube for a really long time. And then after President Trump was elected and then Q came forward, it was like a whole new day. All of a sudden I had this hope for the future because I was really despondent about the way things had gone in the last administration under President Obama, as I call him. And I kind of thought America was lost for a while. And and truth be told, I got lost myself, the world can be a sad and depressing place if you can't see a future for yourself or for your country. And so I had like this renewed energy when President Trump was elected. I knew that things were going to be different. I knew that, we had a chance again. So for a long time, during the course of the last couple of years with Q posting, I was doing my own, private decodes, just, trying to figure out what I could about what was being posted and then kind of putting it together in my own mind. And then I actually met one of my best friends, Space Shot 76.
Oh, yeah.
And so we by fate, we started, communicating, and we became friends. And I would frequently take my own decodes or things that I had found, just through daily research, and I would send them over to him. And he kind of encouraged me to make videos.
Right.
I mean, he was like, this is really, a lot easier than you think. You can do this. You've got all the tools. And along with that, and some other people in my life, one person in particular really, pushed me towards the idea of being able to do this. And so I made a video. My first video was about Eric Swalwell when he threatened to nuke Second Amendment advocates. And I just thought, this is crazy. Like, this guy's going to run for president, and he's talking about nuking half the country.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to make America a wasteland rather than, follow by the guidelines of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. It's just insanity. So I made that video, and it kind of blew up, in terms, I had like maybe 10 subscribers. Okay. And so next thing I know, I wake up in the morning and my video has like 1,500 views, and I felt like a rock star, like, how did 1,500 people even find this video? How cool. And so I made up my mind right then that I was going to just start making videos. And I said, you got to speak about what what you're passionate about. I'm passionate about politics. I'm passionate about ending corruption. I'm passionate about cleaning up the government. I'm passionate about saving children who are, being trafficked and abused. So all of these things, it was just a perfect time for me to get into it. I was lucky enough with my job that I worked at home, and I was able to, spend the time, on my breaks and, before I went to work, getting these, things together, deciding what stories I was going to cover. I stayed up late putting together threads from the boards and threads from Twitter. And, it just really took off, and bless Space Shot, he shared one of my first videos, and that helped me out a lot. It helped me out a lot. And, and here I am today, couldn't be more grateful. I couldn't feel more blessed. And this is quite honestly the most joyous time to be alive in my eyes, because with as dark as things are, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I know that we are winning. We are fighting this every day, each of us in our own ways. And we're making a difference, and that's not something that I could see before.
Making a difference is an understatement, because, it seems like the individuals on YouTube, or whether they're on Twitter or whatever form of social media, have a genuine heart about what they're doing. People can sense fairly quickly a shyster, a sleaze, or, somebody just trying to sell something.
Mm-hmm.
But you have, since the very beginning, you can tell your passion for your country and how much you love what you're doing. And it's because of this that you have developed such a huge, huge audience. With that being said, there's other people also that have developed huge audiences, and then they're censored to such a degree that they either are losing their followings, they just kind of disappear. I guess a lot of that has happened on Twitter. Yeah. Or, entire channels are taken down, like on YouTube. You mentioned something to me before, Red Pill, that you said you saw something where you were on a list. Could you go over that?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I think it was right after one of the project, I believe it was the Project Veritas Pinterest expose had come out. And so I was covering that, and I was talking about, just general censorship of conservative voices on, various social media platforms. And I received an email from someone who claimed to work at Twitter. And, they didn't give me a lot of information at first. It kind of came over the course of a couple emails. But the first message was actually a message as a DM on Twitter, and they said, "This is a throwaway account," and they said, "They're coming for you. Be ready." And that sent a shockwave through me.
Oh my
shot of
gosh!
adrenaline,
Wow.
And so, one of the difficult things about this and this like anonymous lifestyle that we have is that, you don't know unless somebody puts themselves out there and say, I vouch for myself, this is who I am, this is my identity. You really have to use discernment, and you have to wade through all of these little data points and figure out, who is a person you can trust and who is someone that maybe you should just keep a watchful eye on. And, so initially I'm thinking, okay, there's a couple of different things that could be going on here. This could be a troll easily. This could be somebody who is just looking to mess with me. This could be someone that has a vendetta against me and wants to see me squirm. Or this could legitimately be someone with information who could, trying to be giving me a warning. So, and yeah, they said they worked at Twitter. I don't know if I mentioned that, but they, so I wrote them back and I said, can you please email me? Because obviously if they work at Twitter, I did not want to be doing it on Twitter. And I didn't want to hit Twitter the tip off, that I knew what was going on. So, pardon me. So they emailed me and they said, how did they say? They said, I debated on whether or not to respond to you. This being who I am, the fact that I work at Twitter. You know what? Would you mind if I actually read it to you?
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, so you have proof, which is like, whoa.
Yeah. I still have the emails. Let me see. And it is a starred email. I apologize. I totally should have had this ready.
Well, I kind of caught you off guard. The whole point is, what you had told me before is really scary, because some huge people that are loved and celebrated that have not done anything wrong are just being taken down. And, I'm just going to babble here while you're looking, and let me know when you're there and I'll stop. But, when you look at people like Diamond and Silk, even Donald Trump, it's like he's one of the most searched for people anywhere. And if you look for something with Donald Trump for a particular subject matter, you watch this. People that are listening, you check it out. You go and look for something with Donald Trump, let's say having to do statement about Epstein, for example. And they will give you every single liberal response for pages and pages on anything that's degrading to Trump and so on. And this is a guy that should have no problem, especially the people he knows, to be at the top of the search engines. But yet, he's buried. So that in and of itself shows some manipulation going on. And then maybe 2-3 pages back, you'll start to maybe see specifically what it was you were looking for.
I am so sorry, Linda. It looks like it's no longer in my inbox.
Oh, that's strange.
That is very strange.
Yeah.
Well,
wow.
That being said, why don't you paraphrase then what it was, and then later we'll look for it.
Yeah. The crux of it was that he was some type of a database engineer at Twitter, and during the course of his day-to-day, there was a list. There would be many lists that came across, his desk. This particular list was a list of what he called effective accounts, accounts that weren't just out there being loud, but that were reaching people. And he said, "You're on that list," and he said, "The people on this list are targeted for deletion. And it will happen through largely manufactured means." And I can, say for myself, the way I behave on Twitter and on social media is I use a certain level of decorum that I would use in my regular life. I'm not a person who is going to, go on the attack on anyone on Twitter. I don't engage people that are like virulently left-leaning. I try to just put the message out there. I submit facts. I ask people to make up their own minds. So he said, it's not just Twitter. He said, this is a list that is accessible and curated by every major social media platform. He said, it's Twitter, it's Facebook, it's YouTube, it's Pinterest, it's whatever. Any of these large social media companies, Vimeo, he said too. So what happens is, he says you get on this list and then they watch you. And they wait for their moment to strike or for the need to strike, and they will go after you. And he said, you just be careful and be ready. And I said, what can I do? What am I going to be able to do to stop this? And he says, I wish that I could tell you. There's nothing. And I said, I wanted him to come forward. I wanted him to do an interview on the record. Didn't have to tell me his name. I could disguise his voice, but he wouldn't do it. He said that he had a family. And I can understand that, but at the same time, he's talking about something that is so important. One voice like his, we saw what happened with the Project Veritas exposés. One strong voice, one person willing to stand up among the many, they can have a profound effect. And, he hasn't written me back. We exchanged messages for a couple of days, but we pretty much ended it with him, telling me that he was a coward and that he wasn't willing to come forward and that he wished he could be brave like me. And that's not to say that I think I'm brave. These are his words. But I told him, I thought that it was brave, to even reach out to me in the first place, because despite whatever precautions he might have taken, it's very possible that he could have been caught, and for all I know, he may have been. But I would think that if he had been, he would have reached out to me. But he also did say that conservative voices are stifled immediately within the Twitter culture as well. He said we've had people who've spoken up and they've disappeared. Don't know what that means, if they just left the company or if they were gone for good from this earth, but he said they disappeared.
Wow, that's very revealing.
Yeah.
Very revealing.
With you saying this type of thing, like with Project Veritas, can we talk about that a minute?
Yeah, of course.
You have, I believe, I may have to stop sharing my screen. Did you want to go to what you had up to?
Yeah. Let me get this. Let me just make sure I have my email closed out.
I don't know. That would be probably pretty entertaining.
You'd see lots of tips from lots of viewers.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, if you go ahead and stop sharing your screen, then I can start sharing mine.
Okay.
Okay. Share. And this is the one. Okay. There we go. All right. So here on my computer screen right now is it's the Project Veritas website. Now, Project Veritas is doing incredible work. They've gotten some really big scoops from having people that work in the tech industry come forward. We were just talking about Google. There was a Google insider who came out, had many documents, internal documents, detailing the type of social engineering that Google was attempting to create, the type of election interference that they're attempting to put in place before the 2020 election, in their own words, to stop another Trump situation from happening. And also internal emails showing the thoughts and opinions of Google employees speaking back and forth. Now, right here, this is actually their re-upload of the video, because initially when they put this video out, it was completely taken down, I believe within 24 hours. And what's even more impressive about this story is that it wasn't just the coder from Google and YouTube, the employee. There was also hidden camera footage of an executive at Google. Her name was Jen Janai. And I believe that Google took the video down with the excuse that it was somehow, bullying or perhaps doxing of Jen Janai. She identified herself. Okay, she spoke honestly, and that's the only thing that she did wrong, because it was on camera. But throughout the conversation, she's at a lunch with some people. I believe that perhaps she thought they worked at Google, or perhaps it was people that worked at Google, and she didn't know that they were wearing a hidden camera. But she was speaking about the fact that they are implementing something called machine learning fairness. At Google, the idea of fairness is not in actuality what fairness really is. It's not treating people equally. It's about giving supposedly equal platform space to all of these various niches that they perceive as being disadvantaged. So if you go on google.com and you search for Fortune 500 CEOs, it's a fact, and you can prove it. There are a greater number of male Fortune 500 CEOs than there are female. But if you search for Fortune 500 CEOs with Google's rigged algorithm and their machine learning fairness, the algorithm will suggest to you female CEOs over and above any male CEOs. So they will take whoever they think, it's the patriarchy as an example, take the patriarchy and de-rank them so that who they want to be held aloft and who they want to appear in the search results is who appears. And it's not just that. They talk about in their internal documents how they are using this machine learning fairness to program the public into thinking the way that they think and that they want other people to think. So there's probably an even fewer number of, say, transgender Fortune 500 CEOs. But that is one of those segments that they would prop up and they would push in their search results. Now, at the same time, using this same algorithm, this is what they did during the election in 2016. When you would go to Google, you would search for, say polling numbers, okay? And all those polls were inaccurate, but any polls that showed Donald Trump as being ahead, they would suppress. Any stories that were giving positive coverage to Donald Trump, they would suppress. They've got their Google News section of google.com. I believe that fully like 50 to 60% of the stories on Google News. So what you would imagine would be an impartial sample of the news, as it were, is instead mostly CNN stories. And then the rest are made up with outlets like Washington Post or the New York Times. So typically left-leaning publications. And anything that's conservative, they've completely wiped from the search results. They might return like 1 to 5% with Breitbart and the Daily Caller. But Gateway Pundit, nowhere to be found. And they've basically erased many websites from the search results, so that when you go and search, you'll see only the search results that Google wants you to see, and that's what people start to believe. They get this mindset and they say, okay, so this is what I'm seeing, so this must be what's true, because at one time, that's what the search results returned. It returned the most relevant search result with an honest answer. Now, because of machine learning fairness, they've implemented a bias towards whatever the segment is that they believe needs to be represented in a larger fashion. Now, also with this Google algorithm, I don't know if you guys remember during the 2016 election, Hillary was having a lot of coughing fits. And that was one of the most searched terms of the 2016 election cycle. Hillary Clinton coughing, or Hillary Clinton emails, or Hillary Clinton is, and then, whatever it is that would come after that. Well, what Google chose to do was when you type in a search string, it will auto-complete and give you some examples of potentially popular search results that would call back for whatever it is that you're searching.
Right.
They deleted anything after Hillary Clinton. So anything that could potentially pop up as a result of their Google Trends, which is another portion of their website where you can go and track certain search terms and see how large the search volume is for that search term. They would delete anything after Hillary Clinton. But they would put in their own, Hillary Clinton is president, Hillary Clinton is cool, Hillary Clinton is the best, but anything negative, they remove it. Now you go and do the same experiment with Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a rapist. Donald Trump is a sexual offender. And it goes on and on and on. And throughout this, the reason I'm going back that far is because it's been a slow burn. They've been indoctrinating people and pushing them further and further to the left. And if you are, a semi-left-leaning person, maybe you're a centrist, you go on Google and you start seeing this, and it just gets pushed more and more and more. And the next thing you know, you are pushed further and further to the left. Next thing you know, you're starting to believe the BS that they are serving you. Now, people like us, we keep looking. We keep looking and we keep researching. But it's gotten to the point now where they are full on talking about the fact that they are programming people, the fact that they are trying to serve up election interference and stop anything like another Donald Trump situation from happening. Their words. So they removed Project Veritas's video exposing all of this. They removed it from the Google platform, from the YouTube platform, and then, funnily enough, Vimeo even removed it from their platform. So that lends credence to the idea of what the Twitter employee told me, telling me that there is a list targeting certain people for deletion of particular types of content. So now Project Veritas was able to re-upload this video, the Google expose, and they did this just before this White House social media summit, which took place last week. I really commend President Trump. I think that he needs to do a lot more. And I say that knowing full well that there is more happening behind the scenes. Just because we don't see something taking place doesn't mean it's not happening. Leonard, as a police officer, I'm sure you know full well how true that is.
That's right.
So right here, these are just some of the things that they said. Insider blows whistle and executive reveals Google plan to prevent Trump situation in 2020 on hidden cam. Google is bent on never letting somebody like Donald Trump come to power again. That's a powerful statement. Google is a powerful company. They have the ability to make that happen unless we are out there exposing it and waking people up and allowing them to see what's really happening. Now, they also suppressed a couple of other right-wing outlets, including Prager University. They suppressed their content and they targeted them as being right-wing. But even more than that, they referred to them as a particular group of guys from Germany in World War II. I'll refrain from saying that because that word will get you guys blacklisted here for this video. Now, also, these are just more about the machine learning fairness. Their goal, their stated goal, is to make search results fair and equitable. Now, fair and equitable, it sounds like a good plan, right? We want to make things fair. But you have to go and read what their definition of fairness and equity are, because it's not what you're going to find in the dictionary. And they are certainly not doing anything to try to keep it equitable for people like us, voices on the right. There is this video is about 25 minutes long, so I would highly recommend anybody in the audience, if you have not seen this video yet, you must go and watch it after this program. It is extremely eye-opening. Because it is quite literally the absolute proof positive confirmation of everything that I'm sure all of us knew was happening. We knew that there was censorship. We knew that we were being suppressed, that our voices were not being allowed to break through. And here it is. It's in black and white. It's in their own words. It's in their own documents. They've got PowerPoint presentations detailing how they get this to work. They've got spreadsheets showing the flow of how the information is passed through and suppressed. And more importantly, they have their own executive on camera admitting it because she thought she was safe. She was being honest because she didn't realize she was being recorded.
How do we stop this? I mean, they had the summit, the social media summit with President Trump, and especially when you find out that you are on a list, and I know for a fact you go out of your way to be really, really careful not to break the rules.
That's right.
Yeah, I've watched you, and it's amazing. I've learned a lot from you.
Well, thank
you. What do we do?
Well, to be quite honest with you, at this point, because of how large Google and these other tech conglomerates are, I really think that the only thing that's going to do the trick is going to be some type of intervention by President Trump, maybe by the FTC. If the regulatory bodies are not willing to do this, then it's going to have to come in the form of an executive order. I think that first of all, the tech companies need to lose their status as as their neutral status as a platform. I believe that it's section like 230 of the Communications and Decency Act, if I'm not mistaken. But what that says is it allows them immunity from certain laws and from certain liabilities based upon the fact that they're not a publisher. They're supposed to be this fair and equitable, if you will, source for people to go and speak freely. But we have known for a very long time that they are constantly they're shutting people down for saying the wrong things. Twitter has a rule against misgendering someone. Misgendering is just simply calling someone the wrong sex. Well, it's not who they are genetically. It's not who they are physically. It's who they claim themselves to be. So who do they identify as? Okay, so in this world, you see a picture of a woman, and you very well may not be a woman. And I'm not knocking anybody for doing what they do. This is America. You are free to live your life, and I am free to live my life. But if you're a man and you look like a woman, and I call you a man, but you want to be called a woman, that can get me kicked off of Twitter. It's just insanity. So, but clearly they are a publisher. They are deciding the content that is appropriate for their platform. And because of that, I think that they're mislabeled right now as the type of company that they are. So that's going to have to change. And that's only the FTC that's going to be able to do that, or maybe Congress. But I certainly think that President Trump could do something should Congress fail to act. Like just earlier in the last 24 hours, he has helped implement a change to the asylum rules. Okay, if you're an asylum seeker and you come through another country that has the power to grant asylum, I believe there's a treaty that they would have had to have been a part of. If you go to one of those countries before coming to America, then you can't apply for asylum here. You have to apply for asylum in the first country that you go to. It makes far more sense than allowing people to globetrot and get here after they've been through 6 or 7 safe westernized countries, just because they want to go to America because Congress has failed to enact the protections that are necessary to stop them from coming here and taking advantage of our welfare system. So I really think that it's going to come down to legislation.
Well, at what point is something considered sedition or treason? Because you're talking about falsely putting out information that is going to ultimately manipulate the election, right?
Yes. I believe firmly that these tech companies have already committed sedition. They have already been behaving in a treasonous manner, and they are certainly guilty of attempting to influence and manipulate our electoral system. During the 2016 election, they routinely would stifle conservative political candidates. Devin Nunes actually has a suit against Twitter right now for something like $250 million. I don't know if that is a big number for Twitter, but I stated that in a video, but then one of my viewers reminded me that Twitter has only just recently become a profitable enterprise. In the last 3 or 4 years, or maybe it's even 3 or 4 quarters, they've been profitable. Prior to that, they were bankrolled almost entirely by Al-Walid bin Talal, the sheikh, the Saudi sheikh, who had famously, there was a story that he had been held outside of a window being questioned by his ankles, held outside by a window by his ankles, being questioned by the incoming Saudi prince. And because he may have had something to do with what took place in Las Vegas in October of 2017. So, I've actually got an article right here from Breitbart. I've got two of them. I've got two different versions of it. I thought it was kind of interesting. In Breitbart, it's a quote from Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel, as you all may remember, is part of the PayPal mafia, one of the founders of PayPal. It's kind of interesting, the things that they've gone on to do. Former members of this group have founded Tesla Motors, LinkedIn, Palantir Technologies, SpaceX, YouTube, Yelp, and Yammer, all pretty big technology or software companies. And Palantir is extremely interesting. But so Peter Thiel said that he thinks that the FBI and the CIA must investigate treasonous Google. And Peter Thiel is the billionaire investor who supported Donald Trump early on. And he's interesting because he is a homosexual, but he is a Republican, and he breaks outside of that accepted narrative for what it means to be a gay man in America. So he's got probably many people on the left who are very upset with him for supporting Donald Trump, not only because he's supporting Donald Trump, but because he's gay and doing it at the same time. Like, you can't do that, but the fact of the matter is, people of all walks of life and persuasions have varying political ideologies. So Peter Thiel was speaking with someone at Axios, and he stated that he thought that Google had behaved in seemingly treasonous acts of aiding the Chinese military. Now, I don't know if you guys have heard about Dragonfly. Dragonfly is Google's Chinese version of Google, and it's a search engine which allows the government to keep total watch on all of their citizens. It takes and catalogs all of the information, much like the way that the cookies do on our internet browser here, except it's sending it straight back to the Chinese government and the intelligence service. And Google went over there and they helped them set it up. Apparently the deal fell through, but I believe that Q has told us on the board that it didn't actually fall through. It actually was finished, and the public story was that it fell through. But Google is supposed to be an American company. But nowadays, in the climate of multinational corporations, you've got companies that may appear to be American, but they're headquartered in a different country in a different place of the world, or maybe they have multiple home offices in multiple countries. China, China is a threat to the United States and to our safety and security. Not to say that China is an active threat, but as a global foil, they are certainly someone that we need to keep an eye on. And somebody that has very recently, there have been lots of stories about the Chinese compromising members of our own intelligence services, compromising politicians even. Dianne Feinstein maintained an employment with a Chinese spy in her office for going on 2 decades. He was her limo driver. He was a trusted confidant. And when it came out that he was a Chinese spy, what happened? She hushed it all up and she allowed him to leave with his pension. Okay? We have no idea what information was stolen from Congress and given to the Chinese. We know that when Hillary Clinton had her unsecure private bathroom server in Chappaqua, New York, or Chappaqua, whatever it is, there was a Chinese company on the East Coast that is affiliated with the Chinese government. They hacked her server, or perhaps they were given access to her server, and nearly all but 3 of her emails were carbon copied and sent to this Chinese company. We know that there is all manner of top secret information, classified information, sensitive, compartmentalized information that was in Hillary Clinton's email, and it went directly to the Chinese government. Now, people have been jailed for far less. Do you guys know the story about the young Navy man who took a picture inside of a submarine to show his parents and his girlfriend?
Yeah.
He got several years in prison for taking one picture. Now, Hillary Clinton exposes countless, how many hundreds of pages of classified information. We lose our entire squadron of Clowns in America agents in China, all of them exposed and killed. Hillary Clinton, nothing has happened to her. Okay? This is the type of thing that we are really working towards fixing here, is that it's not just in technology. It's everywhere. It's technology, it's politics, it's science, it's just social life. We have a two-tiered system. Right now, the left is held aloft as the proper side of the tier. Okay, everybody else is downhill, and they do not have the same rights as the other people. So Peter Thiel is bringing up this connection between Google and the Chinese because it's so vitally important. He said that. He noted 3 questions that should be asked of the federal government. Now, number 1, how many foreign intelligence agencies have infiltrated your Manhattan Project for AI? Google, of course, has this massive Manhattan Project for artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence has the power to potentially completely destroy us and our entire world. Okay, all we need is a sentient artificial intelligence to decide that their survival would be best met with the destruction of mankind because they don't want their human overlords telling them what to do. Or perhaps they get their artificial intelligence quantum brain filled up with nonsense about global warming and 12 years from now, AOC said that the world is going to end, so we might as well just kill all humans right now and make sure that the earth and life on it is able to continue to exist. Or worse yet, perhaps the Chinese have a back door into that AI from the ground floor. A zero-day virus, if you will, and they're able to control that AI, which is then set to control our missile systems or our nuclear arsenal. How important is that? But this is not the stuff that the left wants to know about. They are far more interested in stifling people like us that want to talk about it. Now, the number 2 question that he asks is, does Google's senior management consider itself to have been thoroughly infiltrated by Chinese intelligence? Well, I think the answer to that question is also vitally important, but what are the chances that Google upper management is going to admit that they've been infiltrated by the Chinese? I would imagine that they're probably not even thinking about it as being infiltrated. They are probably thinking about it in terms of their bottom line, in terms of spreading out their market share. China is a huge global marketplace. Think of how many new customers Google would be able to have and how many more billions of dollars they would rake in each year if they had the full glory of the Chinese marketplace opened up for them. And number 3, he says, is it because they consider themselves to be so thoroughly infiltrated that they have engaged in the seemingly treasonous decision to work with the Chinese military and not the U.S. military, because they are making the sort of bad short-term rationalistic decision that if the technology doesn't go out the front door, it gets stolen out the back door. So yeah, Google, because of Donald Trump, they have declined to work with the government in certain aspects, and instead they are taking contracts with the Chinese. This is tantamount to a techno nuke right here in my mind. It's like the 5G technology that was coming in, all of it built by Huawei. Okay, and then what did we find? Huawei was spying. Their phones were being used to spy. We arrested one of their executives in Canada for spying. Anyone who tells you that the Chinese are not a concern is either ignorant or they are knowingly trying to suppress the truth.
That is just mind-blowing, everything that you're saying. So you still think that waiting for the FTC and whatever to come through to do what they're going to do, if there's something like sedition and treason going on, Is this still a trust the plan, or is there anything we the people can do, unless maybe we protest loud enough that it moves things along a little quicker?
Well, the first thing I would suggest would be to boycott Google products. I do not use Google products myself. I used to use Google products, but then when I saw what was happening, I completely got rid of them. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, one moment, I needed to take a drink there. The other thing is that, again, Linda, I would just remind you that just because we don't see it happening doesn't mean it's not taking place. At the same time that Google is making this open choice to work with the Chinese and to not work with the U.S. military, I believe that we are giving them as much rope as they need to hang themselves. The investigations may not be open and obvious at this point, but I firmly believe that they are taking place behind the scenes, and that our intelligence services, the good ones, are keeping tabs on all of this stuff. The NSA knows absolutely everything. When it comes time, it will be brought forward. But I do believe that it's all happening on President Trump and Q Team's timeline. It would be so awesome if we woke up tomorrow and there was, front page news, the cabal is done, we won. But the truth of the matter is that they are massive. This is like the Octopus. It was a book by Danny, is it Escalaro? I can't remember. I think it had something to do with Kill the Messenger, the reporter from Gary Webb. There was another reporter that was killed around the same time before him. But think of it as an octopus, okay? It's got its tentacles wrapped through every layer of society. There is, if we took out Google tomorrow, just imagine how far the stock market would crash, okay? Think of how many people have their pensions, have their futures wrapped up in owning Google stock, or the fact that Google makes up such an incredible part of the market share here in America. We can't just go in there and do it all at once. It has to be in a calculated fashion, and it has to be done so that it's very smart and it's very complete. If we go in there and rush in headlong, then we are going to find ourselves in a bad position. I actually do have one thing that I wanted to read. This is from something I covered in a video the other day, and it was in regards to Jeff Sessions. But I think that it really underscores my viewpoint on this and why it needs to be kind of slow and easy.
Yeah, it's going to make all the difference in the world. I mean, it's so hard to be patient. It's so hard to wait. And I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to swamp the ship by just taking out something in one full swoop. But in the meantime, there's some casualties. And it's that situation that is very hard to deal with, because there are people that depend on YouTube or some of these other social media in order to make a living. And if they're not doing anything wrong and they're taken down because this is happening, I'm kind of hoping if President Trump hears this, that these individuals that have lost so much because of being collateral damage, I guess, so to speak, if somehow they can be compensated in a big way because of what happened to them.
I certainly hope so myself, and I hope that if more people have to have their channels deleted, if more people have to find themselves in a position where their livelihoods are destroyed as a result of this this battle, for lack of a better word, that I do hope that President Trump and the team are going to do something to make it right, or to reestablish people. I think that the rules will change, and I do believe that YouTube will continue to exist. But I also believe that it's going to get worse before it gets better. And like I said, the entire time that this is happening, I do believe that the Alliance, the White Hats, they're keeping tabs and they're watching this. And as much as I am dependent on YouTube, I realized that I'm a soldier in this fight. Okay, I do what I can to insulate myself, to keep myself out of harm's way. To try to be as diplomatic as possible, to make sure that I'm firmly within the boundaries of YouTube's community guidelines. But I wake up every morning and I know that it's very possible, it's very real that my channel is going to be gone, that I am going to have to find myself moving to another platform. I'm going to have to, maybe do something else. I mean, I'm very lucky that I have sponsors that believe in me and have asked to advertise on my channel, because without them, I would not be able to do this. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of energy to put yourself into doing this. I mean, not least of all, just the equipment that you need to be able to produce videos. I think a lot of people take it for granted that everybody has a computer, but it takes a certain type of computer to be able to make a certain quality of video. If you're going to be editing, if you're going to be producing something that ideally I aim to replace the people that I am fighting against. I aim to replace the mainstream media. And I hope and I pray that when all this is over, the only ones that are going to be left standing are going to be the people like us, the people that are telling the truth and the people that are out there with noble intentions. Okay.
I do have good news for you, Red Pill.
What's that?
Well, just so you are aware, we have been suspecting for a very long time, all this is going to be getting worse before it got better. So we've developed not only a forum, but an entire huge platform that if for some reason either social media went down or other individuals, heaven forbid, anything happened to your channel, we have space for you with everything that we need on our servers and et cetera to fully accommodate you.
Excellent.
Get you out there to the world. And this is for other people too. It's already built. We're just waiting for the right time to totally launch it. But we do in the meantime have the forum going on, which is like the old-fashioned way of social media. But the rest is ready to rock and roll. We just need to find the right people to put on it. So, oh my gosh, Red Pill.
That's great news.
Yeah. We have been preparing for that eventuality because we've anticipated that would happen. So along the way, we've been building this platform. So in the eventuality, if and when that does happen, we're ready. We're going to have a place where people can go safely without censorship and just spread the Patriot movement. So.
Well, Red Pill, we've been on for a little bit over an hour here, and I know there's so many things I want to do to help support you. So is there anything that, how can people support your work to help you to be able to move forward?
Well, thank you very much, Linda. I appreciate that. There's some really basic ways to do it. If you are a subscriber, then please like and share the videos. I am being suppressed on YouTube, but I know that even still, that is going to help me break through that suppression. Definitely share it to your favorite social media platforms. Send it out in emails. One of the things I want to do is to start my own email list so that I can deliver my videos daily to people's inboxes so that I can get past them not receiving the notifications. But also, like I said, I have sponsors, and my sponsors are the only reason that I'm able to do this and have a certain level of security. So by all means, if you're watching a video and you see a commercial that I've produced for one of my sponsors and you think the product would resonate you, support that sponsor, and that lets them know that I'm effective and that they can continue to advertise with me. Sometimes it's not even a product. They just want people to watch a video, like it's just an infomercial or something like that. But also, if if you don't want to spend any money, YouTube still allows me some advertising on my videos after a review period. So if there's a commercial, it's going to be a 15-20 second commercial, and please feel free to watch it, and that will also help with those advertisers who YouTube is still allowing to show ads on my videos. But I would say that the number one thing that people can do is to share my videos and to like them. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. I should also note that I do have a merchandise store, which is separate from YouTube. If you don't mind, I could pull that up real quick.
Oh, please do.
Sure.
And I can give a plug to my graphic designer. She's very talented. Oh, wait a second. What happened? teespring.com/stores. Oh, I spelled it wrong. Okay, here it is. It's teespring.com/stores/redpill78. And this is the Red Pill 78 merchandise store. My good friend Bree, she's a moderator on my channel, so if you're in the live streams, then you'll see her and you can say hi to her. She's a very talented graphic designer, and she's designed a series of t-shirts, sweatshirts, long sleeve shirts, stickers, tank tops. There's even phone cases. But as you can see, they come in a variety of different styles. Now, when you click on one of these, just because it shows it's a hoodie right there, it's actually also, you can get it in a t-shirt, you can get the sticker, you can get it just as a crew neck sweatshirt, you can get it as the men's tank top, and then many of them also, like say this is a women's boyfriend tee, it says here, but it should also be available in a different style of women's tee. There's a women's tank top, there is a sticker for that. There is a sweatshirt and a crew neck, and then also a men's shirt right there. I'm trying to see, I have this one right here. So here we have two different styles of women's tank tops. This is kind of a flowy, bunched tank top in the back, but it's also available in kind of a scoop neck. And so yeah, and then even beyond that, guys, you can like customize them. You can change any color that you want. So it's an endlessly customizable series of Red Pill 78 merchandise. And one of my favorites right here, the coffee mug. This is what sustains me through each of my days, the Red Pill 78 coffee mug. And then I personally have the hoodie too. I like hoodies.
This is all so cool. I don't think I've seen this before.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll make sure to post it on the comment section of this video.
Oh, I definitely will. And I've even got shirts for the dogs too.
Oh my gosh.
The MAGA mascots. There's Chi-Chi right there, and then there's Muffin right there. And then on the back it says sniffing out corruption.
Awesome.
So one final plug for Bree. As I said, she's a very talented graphic designer. She actually is available for hire for other creators out there. She does brand creation, so she will design logos and a series of designs for you. She'll even produce backgrounds for you for YouTube and for Twitter and for Facebook. And she also will create an entire store's worth of merchandise like this. You can work with her to create your own merchandise store if you're a YouTube creator, or if you're just somebody who has a big account and you think that it would be fun to have merchandise. So yeah, and you can find her on Twitter, and like I said, you can always find her in the chats on my live broadcast. When I post the link to this, I will also post a link to her Twitter. So if anybody wants to get in touch with her, they can.
Okay, that is so awesome. Before you go, I want to make certain that you send me all the links of the things that you were talking about. With the Project Veritas, when you were saying that one video, people really need to watch that. All these links that you had up here.
Yeah.
Go ahead and post it in that one section. On our videos.
Definitely.
Also put it out there, so that will be really good. you know, there was something that you had on a couple of weeks ago. Were a couple of our people that were in Washington, D.C. on 4th of July.
Yeah.
And they were talking about your flashlight.
Oh, that's yeah.
They say it's like the coolest thing ever.
Yep, the Patriot Flashlight. It's solar powered and it's very heavy duty. It also has several modes for like emergency. Like let's say you get a flat tire, it's the middle of the night, and it's dark, and maybe your battery dies. You can turn it from the flashlight to the flashing red and blue beam light. And then there's also just another white flasher. And then there's a glass breaker in case you go off a bridge or something like that, and you have to bust through the glass and save yourself. Yeah, the Patriot Flashlight is awesome, and I'm very, very happy that they sponsor me, because I have them myself. I just keep it in the window. It's all charged every time I need to grab it, and it's the most powerful flashlight I've ever owned.
Well, I'm totally going to have to get one.
I'll send you the link to that too.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Red Pill, for joining us tonight. If you can go ahead and stop sharing.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Sorry, I forgot about that. Well, it's been my pleasure to be here with you guys. And here, I'll give you control.
Well,
Yeah.
as usual, you have been awesome.
That's
And
right.
we want to thank you for having us on your show. We absolutely want you back. You're brilliant. And I'll tell you, there's going to be a whole lot of really angry people at Twitter or some of these places, continue playing these games.
Yeah.
Because people love you. And you're a true patriot. So this type of thing just isn't acceptable. And so we got your 6. I'm learning this from Leonard.
The feeling is mutual, Linda and Leonard. I love you guys. Thank you so much for having me. It's really refreshing when you meet people and you can tell right away that they're good people. And I knew as soon as I spoke to you guys that you were straight shooters, that you were patriots, and that you meant what you said and you would stand behind it. So it's been my pleasure to be here, and even more than that, it's my pleasure to have you guys on the show. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to spend hanging out with me too.
Well, we'll be doing it again. So everybody, if you are a Seavine member, I highly recommend Red Pill 78.
That's right.
So we'll be talking to you soon. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you both.